Greetings and welcome back to the lab. Today, let's talk about jack-o'-lanterns. I designed this circuit board. Now I'm going to build one. I got a whole bunch. I've already built some of them. I've already started painting, but let's start from the beginning here. This is, this is the circuit board. And I'm using a 68 ohm resistor in this particular case. It may vary how bright you want to make it. The 68 ohm, I did some testing. I'll put a link to that video here. And actually, I'm not sure if I kept that video or not. Anyway, if it exists, I'll put it up here. I'm making so many videos right now, I'm kind of losing track. But what this did was it gave me about 19 milliamps, and then I kind of forgot that really that means I'm splitting it across all four of these. So it's really only about 5 milliamps per LED, give or take a little because of tolerances. But it just seemed like about the right brightness without being too ridiculously bright. So if you want, you can put a lower resistor and you get more current going into these and they'll be brighter. Or you can put a high resistor and make it even dimmer. So maybe wait until I'm actually done building this and test it so you can see what that's going to end up looking like. And I'm going to put this first resistor in. It doesn't have to be mounted perfectly. I think I kind of screwed up with the size of the resistor. I think this is anticipating more like a half watt or a 1 watt. This is only a quarter watt resistor. So 68 ohms, quarter watt. I grab some solder and hope things don't all fall all over the place. I'm going to solder it on. That didn't quite work. There we go, that's better. And I'm going to grab my cutters. Side cutters or flush cutters, I'm not exactly sure what you call them. These you can buy like 5 pair for $10, or the 1 pair for like $4 or $5. Just go on Amazon or eBay and look around for them. There is a brand name. These are not the brand name ones, but they're decent knockoffs. I'll put my leads in a little container. I want to get that semi-flat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but ultimately we're going to end up painting this. So I want to keep it low, but you don't want to cut too low or it could actually just fall out. So the next thing I'm going to do is the LEDs. And these LEDs, 2 of these are flickering LEDs. And 2 of them are constant. So let me give you an idea. That's a really nice gold LED that I managed to find. And when I ordered them, they accidentally sent me 10 times as many as I ordered. So I'm having fun using them up. But here's the flickering one. And the reason I'm using 2 of them is to create sort of a flickered flicker. And I don't know how well that's going to come out. Hopefully you can see it on my hand that it is flickering. I've got the studio lights on, which is going to make it difficult to see. But so I'm going to put the flickering lights on the outside. And if you look carefully at this LED, there's a short lead and a long lead. The short lead is the negative, and that matches up to the flat side of these diagrams here. So we've got room for 4 different LEDs. Well, room for 4 LEDs. And I'm going to put this in according to that. But I'm going to do this a little bit differently from normal. Because what I actually want is I want this to shine. Let me actually look at my reference. Actually, I got that wrong. The flicker LEDs are going to be the shorter ones in this. So the outside LED is pointing. I'm going to bend it over, and it's going to be hard to see. I'll try to zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. But I want it to come up to just below this cutout here, because I don't want it sticking through so you end up seeing the LED itself. That may be hard to do. If a little bit of it shows, don't worry about it. That should work. So now this is going to be the tricky part initially. That first LED that you put in is going to make it all kind of wobble. but then we'll get that fixed with the next one. So I just try to kind of hold the leads when I flip it over so that it doesn't just fall right back out again. And if you end up with flux, that's what this brown stuff is, burnt flux. If you end up with that on the circuit board and you're going to paint it, then don't worry about it. If you want to keep it white, then you're going to want to get some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and you can wipe it off. It will dissolve the flux so you can wipe it off. So that's one. Let's get the other flicker LED. That's going to go on the opposite side. And stick it in the hole. I don't push it all the way down, so I have a little bit of room for bending. And that mostly works. Sometimes what you can do is you can also kind of, like where I got my finger here, you can push it back on itself so it doesn't stick too far into the cutout. Now we'll solder that in. If you're not used to soldering, maybe find a friend who is good at it and ask them to help out. Make a couple extra so that friend can take them home. I've ordered up 10 total circuit boards and 2 5-board batches because that was the best price I could get. I could have ordered them domestically, but they would have been cost prohibitive for a little project like this. So anyway, now we're going to move on to the full color or the full on LEDs. And these are the ones that are going to be really kind of tricky to get used to. So I'm going to get it into these 2 little holes, and I got a little recess in my mat here. And hopefully I remember when I edit this to keep that much in frame. I'm going to bend it towards this top tooth. Now that is going to go across the cutout. But what I'm trying to do here now is I'm trying to get this pointed at the eye. I'm trying to get enough light kind of spread out through this whole thing with the LEDs being where they are. If I were to redesign this a bit, I'd probably put the 2 middle ones more like at these upper teeth that I've got here so that they could point up to here without having to cross over. But it is what it is. I'm going to see what I can do about making this. Now I'm going to solder this from this side. Because I don't want it getting loose on me. This is tricky. You gotta get one kind of anchored, and that's not fully anchored. Now it's getting warmed up. Okay, now that's anchored. It may not. Wait, I take it back. Okay, I'm waiting for the solder to cool down to where it'll hold it mechanically. Then I can solder the other one, and hopefully that'll be solid. Yep, that's solid. And there's probably not much sticking through the other side. Nope. So there's nothing to cut. These are just long enough. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Remember, the flat side here is for the short pin, the negative. Now we're going to put this on. And we're going to bend it over. Kind of hide the LED behind the tooth and point it up at the eye. This was the best combination I found. If you find a better way, or if your LEDs are shorter or longer, you may have to adjust for this. This is my first Halloween ornament using my 12-volt system, which I'll probably have to tell you about in a moment. But I designed the whole system so that I could design multiple ornaments and they would all work off of the same connector, which happens to be this connector, this 4-pin connector, which I'm now going to put in here. And actually, there's a better way to do this. Let me grab something real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, here's what I'm going to suggest. If you've got a breadboard, it doesn't have to be this big. Pretty much any size breadboard that will fit a 4-pin connector, put the long pins in, and this will hold it stable. So you can put this, and now it becomes trickier trying to line it up, but once you get it, it'll probably refuse to go in if you have it off by one. So I'm going to try and line it up, and that just slid right in, and I can see I got all 4 pins in there. So now what I can do is solder these on, and it'll keep it reasonably straight because the LEDs are propping it up off the board, and then there's a spacer built into that connector, that 4-pin connector. So the idea with the 12-volt system is I got 4 pins here. I only need 2 of them for 12 volts, but I wanted to have the extra support with a 4-pin connector. Once you solder all 4 of them on, you've got a good mechanical connection to this. And I also made it so instead of being, I could have made it so like I had ground on one side and positive on the other side. But instead what I did, because I thought, what if I wanted to do both a 5-volt and a 12-volt or a multi-voltage system for these ornaments? I could transmit those voltages through these pins, but I wanted to make it so that if you accidentally got it off by one, you didn't end up putting 12 volts into a 5-volt connector and then blowing up, frying whatever you've got on your circuit board. But this is pretty much done, and I'll show you what the painted version looks like. I've got that here, and I've got it running, powered off a 12-volt system. Now, this is not the proper connector for this, but this is just temporarily so I can see if it's working. And I'm hoping that right now what you can see is the flickering that is going on with this. I know that the camera is going to readjust, but I'm going to try and turn off some lights and see how that goes. So I've got both opportunities to show you what it looks like when it's flickering. So off goes one light, off goes another light, and off goes the main lights. And I hope, sorry about my chair there, I hope that you can see it flickering here. So in terms of painting it, let me go ahead and turn some lights back on here. What I've been using is jack-o'-lantern colored paint. So that's the orange that I've got there. And then I have a burnt umber that I combined with some white to lighten it up a bit. And that's what I'm using for the stem. And I don't think I lightened it up quite enough. So when I paint the others, I'll probably try and make them a little bit lighter. One of the tricks with painting is it's actually kind of smaller and harder to keep within the lines. And I don't have the steadiest hands. What I figured out is I have a really cheap brush for brushing this stuff on. And I ended up using, and I can even use it up here. I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm pointing to. On this end of the stem, you can see there's a black line that's supposed to go up and around. I can use the other end of the brush, which is very thin. I use a pair of cutters like this to cut off the end of it so it's kind of sharp, not too sharp, but so then I can use it as a plastic scraper and I can scrape off this acrylic paint. And that's what I'm doing to make these jack-o'-lanterns. I'm going to leave the painting to you, how you want to do it. If you want to do it this design, if you want to get even fancier, but you got the outline of all the ridges of the pumpkin. I thought about doing like progressively darker colors, something like this in the middle, but to make it slightly darker on the next level, and then even darker on the outside to kind of reflect the depth of it. But that may be getting just too fancy because something's not going to be up to that long. So I'm not one of those people that puts up like Halloween decorations in April or Christmas in July. It's that seems a bit much, but I am struggling right now to try and get all of this done before Halloween actually happens. So that's why the flood of videos that's been coming out. But anyway, that is pretty much the procedure from building these. Then there is powering them. So the 12 volts comes in. Positive is the red one here, and that is on the outside pin, the very outermost pin this way. And then if you call that 2, then the next one is 3 is your negative. That'll power it for 12 volts. That's the way I set it up, and that's the way the circuit board is wired. Uh, if people are interested, I will do a separate video probably after Halloween because I don't think the stuff's going to go up fast enough for people to be able to make this for this Halloween. But I hope you enjoy the project. But if you're interested, I will do a video on that 12-volt system and the couplers and everything that's a part of it that I designed a couple of years ago for Christmas ornaments and then made a whole bunch of Christmas ornaments. So now I'm figuring I can do this for other holidays. I'm just going to actually do the designs, get them built. And then the following year, it's already built. I just put it up. So.
Okay, folks, a fair bit of the hard work is done. I've given a clear coat to half of the jack-o'-lanterns, and I've got something else to clear coat now. And that would be the other half of the jack-o'-lanterns and the first skull, as well as the propeller beanie hat. I still have to do the propeller and get some of that together, but if I can get this all done, hopefully by the beginning of the week, I'll have most of it assembled. Let's go ahead and spray this stuff in. Okay, and not that this is a tutorial, but this is what I'm using. It's a semi-gloss clear, and I just do that because I want to protect I've noticed that the acrylic paint that I put on there can flake off if you hit it just right, so I want to protect it from that happening, so that's why I'm hitting it with a clear coat. And I thought about a flat, but I think the semi-gloss makes a little bit more sense. Maybe a satin would make more sense, but what I have right now is flat and semi-gloss, so that's what I'm going with rather than spending a bunch of time going out and getting core stuff. So let's go ahead and get this stuff sprayed in? I'm not sure what the term is. All right. Now we'll give that the requisite amount of time to dry, and we'll move on to the next thing.
That's where we are. Let me know if you want to see more. Let me know if you have any comments on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.